Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio. In the news this morning, and we'll bring you up to speed with the NBA action and the NBL action in the basketball. There is cricket action to bring up to speed with the Sri Lanka versus England Test match, and also two games in the Super Smash with an upset involved there as well. There's the A-League football over in Australia. Also, we had the conference finals of the NFL yesterday, and we've got news from the LPGA. Hello, I'm Paul, and I'll be your host this morning. This is your best way to start the day up to speed with all of the important sports news. And over in the LPGA, they had the Diamond Resort Tournament of Champions at the weekend, and Korda took that out in a playoff. After finishing at 24 under par, equal with the Kang, fellow American Kang, in that one. Sorry, just sneezing there. Bless me. So in that one, so yes, tight fought competition there. The next, no Kiwi golfers were involved in that one. The next tournament is the Gainbridge LPGA on February the 25th and 28th. So a bit of a while until that one over in the LPGA. Over in the NFL, and it was conference championships time with the Packers losing to the Tom Brady's Buccaneers 26-31 in that one. Tom Brady, obviously with his new team after many years at the New England Patriots, will be making it back to the Super Bowl yet again. When he's there, he'll be up against reigning champions, the Chiefs, who beat the Bills 38-24, took a lead and then held on. Some people seeing this as the passing of the baton of Brady to Mahomes as the sort of leading quarterback in the NFL. We'll see if Mahomes, the young gun, can outdo the old experienced Brady come the come the Super Bowl. Over in the A-League, and there were no games yesterday, but today sees Melbourne Victory take on Perth Glory. That's at 9:05 p.m. New Zealand time. Melbourne Victory looking for their first win of the season. Still had two losses from their two games. Perth Glory had a win and a loss, so a bit of a lower table clash there, both needing a win really to ignite their season. Over in the NBL, and the Taipans lost to the Melbourne United in a tight one yesterday. Melbourne United took that out 87-85 in that one. That means that Taipans now started struggling with one win from their four games so far, whereas Melbourne United 2 wins from 2 games, putting pressure on the Hawks at the top of the table. We still have 3 undefeated teams: the Hawks, Melbourne United, and Wildcats, who have just played 1 game. Today sees the Bullets take on the Kings at 5 p.m. New Zealand time. And the Breakers will be back in action tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. against the 36ers in that one. Over in the NBA, and 7 games yesterday. Some of the key ones seeing the Celtics beat the Cavaliers 141-103, so a big win for them. The Clippers took out the Thunder 108-100, but the Pacers were downed by the Raptors 107-102. Sees the Clippers top of the Western Conference, along with the Lakers, both on 13 wins and 4 losses. The Jazz sat there in 3rd place, just 1 win back. In the Eastern Conference, 76ers still top, ahead of the Bucks, Celtics, and Pacers there. A bit more of a lead, a two-win lead there for the 76ers. Not quite as tight, but a very tight Western Conference in that one. The Pelicans are back in action today. Steve Adams' team at 3 p.m. Taking on the Spurs, one of 10 games today. Do join us tomorrow morning on the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio, where we'll bring you up to speed with that result of the Pelicans versus the Spurs, and also other key games in the NBA and all the sporting action. That's at 7 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or you can catch the recording on our podcast. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio. Moving on then to the cricket, and in the Super Smash, first up, it was the Wellington Blaze versus the Canterbury Magicians yesterday. Sophie Devine has been causing absolute mayhem with the bat, scoring some, at an amazing rate. Unfortunately for her, she didn't manage it yesterday, getting 13 runs off 15 balls. Amanda Kerr, who's also been a key player for the Blaze, failed to fire with the bat as well. Shadowweight came in and took a catch. Took a catch. Got a run out and took 2 wickets from her 1 over before leading the Canterbury Magicians home. Wellington Blaze had scored 132 for 9. Strathwaite scored then 71 not out off 50 balls. So they chased it down with 18.2 overs, so just over and over to spare for a 9-wicket win. Cox also stuck around with Strathwaite with 48 off 49 balls. That means on the women's side of things, the Wellington Blaze remain top of the table, but the Canterbury Magicians have now closed that to just a 2-point lead. The Auckland Hearts are 4 points back, but they do have a game in hand. So this Friday, when they take on the Northern Spirits, they can close that gap to the top 2. It does look like those 3 teams will probably be in the elimination final and the final. The Northern Spirits are still with an outside chance. I will be in Hamilton for that Spirits versus Hearts game. So do look out for coverage of that game, including post-match interviews with the players over on our Facebook page. In the men's side of things, the Kings took on the Firebirds. The Kings were into bat first, putting up a total of 153. They got off to a really fast start. Bowes, McClure, both scoring 44. Well, Bowes got 44 off 29 balls, and McClure 36 off just 15. The bowlers clawed it back to restrict the Canterbury Kings. Otherwise, I was looking at a big score, 153 for 7 off their 20 overs. 3 wickets there for Sears and a couple for Bennett as well. That total was chased down by the Wellington Firebirds. Conway with 50 off 40 balls at the top of the order, but it was Blundell, the wicket-keeper, with 62 off 42 balls, who saw them home, 62 not out, who saw them home with just 2 balls to spare. He was also joined by Johnson, who scored 24, and Bracewell at 5 not out at the end there. So a 7-wicket win, or 2 balls, depending on how you want to look at it, there for the Wellington Firebirds. And that sees them stay top of the men's competition on 28 points, 8 points clear of the Stags and the Canterbury Kings. You've got to say, Wellington Firebirds looking good for hosting the final back there in Wellington. The Stags and Kings are both 8 points ahead of the Northern Knights, who have an outside chance of getting up there. But it is looking like that top 3 will probably make it. Even though, as if you listen to the swinging from the hip last night, we went through the actual the games that those teams have got left, and the Northern Knights do have a fighting chance, having with their 2 remaining games against the Volts and the Aces, who are 5th and 6th in the table there. But yes, catch Swinging from the Hip. The recording is on our Patreon, sorry, not Patreon, on our podcast, and where myself, Ashwin, and Aaron and brought you up to speed with all of the cricket news. Talking of cricket news, then going international, and Sri Lanka really collapsed in their second innings against England, where they were in real trouble at 8 for 78 at one point, as the spinners really went to work, with Best taking 4 wickets and Leach also taking 4 wickets. Roots chipped in with a couple as well to close things out at the end of the innings, but they finished at 126 all out, really saved by the tail enders there. Ember Uliania scored 40 off 42 balls, and Lakmal also stuck around for with him. He scored 11 to save something there from that innings after, well, basically all the top order failed. England then was set a target of 164 runs to win the Test match. They lost Zach Crawley early for just 13. Bairstow and Root didn't manage to recreate their first innings, both going cheaply. Bairstow for 29 and Root for 11. But Dom Sibley stuck around, scoring 56 off 144 balls. Really was the anchor at one end there for the side, as he batted through the innings, so that England won that one by 6 wickets, with Josh Butler also undefeated on 64 not out at the end there, off just 46 not out at the end there, off just 48 balls. So rest very quick. Josh Butler really speeding things along, and Sibley holding up at one end there, as England won the Test series 2-0 in Sri Lanka. We also had news that England will be hosting the Black Caps for 2 tests before the World Test Championship final in June. The 2 tests will be at Lords and also at Edgbaston in Birmingham on June the 2nd to the 6th and June the 10th to the 14th, before the World Test Championship that is tentatively scheduled for 18th to the 22nd of June. There are, we're obviously due to COVID, apparently there are some alternative plans to host the games at the Rose Bowl, where there is a hotel on site, and where England hosted some cricket last summer. So good to see the Black Caps getting those tests against England, and also maybe returning to Lords for a couple of games. Currently, that World Test Championship is looking most likely to be New Zealand versus India. Australia heading over to South Africa, and they would have to win all of those Test matches to make it through. Actually, not lose any. I think it is actually to make it through to the final. India taking on England at home, after England have now finished with Sri Lanka, the Test series in Sri Lanka. You're now also, don't forget that today Pakistan versus South Africa Test will be starting in Karachi in Pakistan. Remember, Pakistan will be hosting most of their games in the Middle East, so that's a momentous day for them, hosting South Africa in Pakistan. Also today, Afghanistan versus India have a one-day international as well. You have now started the day the best way up to speed with all the important sports news. Have a fantastic Tuesday, folks. Don't forget to join us this evening at 8 p.m. for the Driving Mall Show. And also, I'll be back here at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning with the morning sports briefing.